She's on the line from Nairobi now. Good afternoon, Sarah. Welcome to SABC News.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Sarah, what's the general public sentiment on this one? Have these trials served to polarize Kenyan society even further?
Well, what has happened now is that it has reached a point of wait and see for Kenyans. One, because the case has dragged on for a very long time, and also because it has been politicized. Take, for example, in his trip to The Hague right now, Deputy President William Ruto is accompanied by several members of parliament, several senators and governors. And so a lot of people feel a lot of money has been spent, and many even feel that the case should now come to a conclusion, if only to save the country from the manner of politicking that has been seen since the case has started, since President Kenyatta's case was dropped, and now the continuation of this case against Ruto and Joshua's son.
I hear you, Sarah. I can understand, I can appreciate that Kenyans want closure on this one. But if the courts do not rule in Ruto's favor, this means it will spill into an election year in Kenya. And one wonders what would be the impact on his campaigning, because it would then evolve into a campaign issue, as it had happened back in 2013.
Yes, in fact, if you listen to the interview with Mr. George Kegoro, a respected lawyer here in Kenya and also the executive director of Kenya Human Rights Commission, one of the concerns here in the country is that if the case spills to 2017, then it means that it will definitely be a campaign issue, and it will also be one of the things that President Kenyatta will have to talk about again. When they were contesting in the last election, they said that this was going to be a personal challenge and that the country was not going to be dragged into the intrigues of the ICC case against them. However, that has been the case all through this time. And so even if the case continues, then it will mean that Deputy President Ruto will have to carry that burden. And in effect, also President Kenyatta, because Ruto will be President Kenyatta is running it. Should it continue even further then, and Ruto decides to vie for 2022 presidential elections, then he will have that burden that President Kenyatta had when he vied the first time of a suspect or a person with such a case of international, attention, having to go to seek the highest office in the country with such a case, with very, very grievous charges, including murder, rape, forcible transfer of persons, and persecution.
Sarah, how is the local media covering this story for now? It really does focus on the ability of Kenya's media, its journalists, its citizens, etc., to freely interrogate proceedings here, and taking into account that after those terrible mall attacks that we saw back in 2013, we saw the Kenyan Information and Communications Amendment Bill, KICA, coming to force, as well as the Media Council Bill ushered in. What's been the impact of all of this on media practitioners in general?
Well, the Kenyan media is among the best resourced media outfits in the East African region. And so almost every media house has sent representatives and journalists to The Hague. And so Kenyans are getting live coverage of the proceedings from The Hague by their own reporters. However, it is clear that, and they have done this since the case has begun, since the confirmation of charges in 2011. But what has happened over time, the prosecutor and even the judges of the court have had to reprimand the media, sometimes saying that it seems like when they're doing their commentaries and when they're reporting, they have leaned on one side and seem to sometimes even go overboard and reach almost near contempt of court. And Fatou Bensouda has previously warned that the media has been used to rally against the court. And so those are the things that people are still looking at. However, this time, because the two rulings are very easy, either a no case to answer, and also the other one on the Article 68, Rule 68, it seems like a very straightforward case, but they have called in political analysts, who sometimes help to make issues more understandable for people, because these are relatively very new issues. International law and international crimes are relatively new issues in the country.
Sarah Kimani, our East African correspondent there on the line to us from Nairobi. Let's move on now.